Welcome to Concept with Justin. Imagine stepping through a gate and into a private oasis where the city noise fades, green leaves whisper above you, and the air carries a soft, floral note. Stay with me and you'll discover 5 thoughtful ideas that will turn any courtyard into a lush, livable refuge that invites morning coffee, midday breathe-outs, and long, slow evenings. Begin by imagining the courtyard as a set of rooms rather than a single flat rectangle. Picture a tall, graceful tree planted near the far corner, perhaps a slender olive, a Japanese maple, or a small strawberry tree, its trunk creating a vertical spine and its canopy casting a dappled shade that changes the mood as the day moves. Around that spine, see tiers of planting, mid-height shrubs and bleached specimens that frame views, lower perennials that knit the beds together, and creeping ground covers that soften stepping stones and pathways. Visualize a narrow path that winds like a mini journey, edged with low, fragrant herbs so each step becomes a small discovery. The benefit of this architectural approach is immediate. Layering creates depth and privacy, turns awkward sidelines into framed moments, and establishes microclimates that let you place a wider range of species where they'll thrive. Instead of a flat plot, your courtyard becomes a sequence of intimate moments. A bench tucked beneath filtered light, a sunny nook for a pot of tomatoes, a cool mossy patch for bare feet. With a structural spine and layered planting in mind, commit to repetition and rhythm to give the courtyard visual cohesion. Imagine repeating 2 or 3 key plants around the space, perhaps a glossy evergreen for year-round weight, a billowy grass for movement, and a scented shrub like rosemary or lavender for texture and perfume. Picture these elements appearing in groups of 3 or 5, echoed on either side of the path and repeated in containers and beds so the whole composition reads as a designed whole rather than a series of one-off choices. In contrast, tuck in single-piece punctuation plants, a bronze-leaf shrub here, a clump of tall alliums there, to create focal punctuation that draws the eye. The benefit is calm unity. Repetition organizes variety and makes a small courtyard feel larger and more intentional, while contrasts prevent monotony and offer little theatrical moments as you move through the garden. Now imagine inviting scent and tactility into the immediate experience so the courtyard works on more than just sight. Picture edging a pathway with creeping thyme that releases a lemony perfume when stepped upon, a low hedge of rosemary that brushes your sleeve and returns savory notes each time you pass, and a jasmine train trellis at the entry that perfumes the space on warm evenings. Think of soft lamb's ear under a bench, cool, smooth ceramic pots in your hand, and the rough embrace of reclaimed wood on a seating wall. Consider night-scented plants, nicotiana, moonflower, and evening-scented stock. Placed near seating so as day turns to dusk the courtyard becomes an olfactory theater. The benefit of integrating scent and texture is deep. Fragrance makes places memorable and invites ritual, while tactile contrasts encourage touch and presence, turning passive viewing into embodied living. As scent knits the senses, plan seating and activity zones that make the courtyard usable at different times of day and for different occasions. Envision a bench integrated into a low wall beneath a vine, softened with cushions and a folded throw for cooler evenings. Imagine a compact dining table for two beneath a pergola where filtered light and climbing grapes or wisteria create intimacy for slow dinners. Picture a hammock or a pair of loungers in a shaded corner for restorative naps, and a small potting bench near an entrance so tools and quick plantings are always at hand. Think about orienting seating toward focal points, a bubbling urn, a specimen tree, or an interesting sculpture, and placing seats so they capture the best micro moments. Morning sun for breakfast, the cool of midday shade, and evening lamplight for conversation. The benefit is function married to beauty. The courtyard stops being merely decorative and starts supporting daily life, from reading and working to dining and socializing. While designing comfortable zones, make resilience and low-effort maintenance central so that lushness doesn't become a burden. Picture beds grouped by irrigation need, drought-tolerant succulents and Mediterranean shrubs on a single drip line, moisture-loving ferns and hostas in a cooler, shadier microclimate served by a second line. Imagine using self-watering containers and reservoirs in large planters, adding compost at planting to build soil life, and top-dressing beds with mulch to conserve moisture and reduce weeds. Choose climate-adapted species. In warm, dry courtyards pick olive, rosemary, lavender, and ornamental grasses. In cooler, shaded courtyards choose ferns, hellebores, hydrangeas, and moss-friendly ground covers. Use slow-release organic fertilizers in spring and liquid feeds for containers at peak growth times. The benefit is sustainability. With smart grouping and basic irrigation, the courtyard rewards modest care with abundant returns, freeing you to enjoy the space rather than constantly tend it. As these 5 ideas knit together: vertical structure, repetition and rhythm, scent and tactile planting, purposeful seeding, and resilient maintenance, picture a practical sequence for implementation. Start by placing your vertical elements and mapping shade and sun through a typical day. Then choose your repeating species and structural anchors. Next, plant scented and tactile species close to paths and seating. Arrange furniture to match light and view. Finally, install irrigation and mulch to support the plantings. Each decision supports the next. Structure creates shade that informs plant choices. Repetition simplifies irrigation and visual balance. Scent and tactility enrich the moments where you sit. Seating choices guide microclimates. Irrigation keeps it all sustainable. The result is a courtyard that is both thoughtful and delightfully livable. To bring this to life quickly, here are 5 concrete planting moments to try this weekend. First, install a statement container. A large, central pot with a specimen tree or architectural shrub, a dwarf olive, ornamental pear, or columnar crabapple, set on a simple plinth or bed of gravel so it reads as a focal point. Imagine the tree's shadows sketching patterns on the paving and a ring of low, fragrant herbs planting beneath it to invite touch. Second, create a scented border along the most traveled path. Plant thyme, dwarf rosemary, lavender, and a few salvia for a perfume strip that rewards every step. Picture guest hands brushing fragrant foliage as they walk. Third, lay a small seating nook with built-in bench and back planting. Tuck the bench into a corner, back it with taller shrubs and climbers, and add cushions for comfort so it becomes your morning refuge. Fourth, bring in layered containers. Stack pots of different heights with trailing geraniums, upright salvias, and textured foliage plants for seasonal interest without permanent digging. Fifth, add a soothing water element, a bubbling urn, a shallow basin, or a wall spout so sound becomes part of the courtyard's atmosphere. Each action yields an immediate sensory and functional improvement: focal structure, scent, usable seating, vertical variety, and calming sound. Practical tips will keep your oasis both beautiful and durable. Use high-quality potting mix with added compost for containers, and always ensure good drainage by elevating pots on feet or using grit in the base. Choose frost-hardy species in colder zones and move sensitive containers indoors or to a sheltered spot during harsh winters. Group plants by water requirement and zone them on separate irrigation lines or timers to avoid both over- and underwatering. Protect roots from summer heat with organic mulch and shade where necessary with sail shades or deciduous climbers that let in winter light. Install a simple automatic timer for drip irrigation to maintain consistency during busy periods or vacations. The benefit is less stress and more continuity. Small technical choices dramatically reduce plant losses and keep the courtyard flourishing through seasons. Avoiding common design mistakes will help the courtyard mature gracefully. Don't overcrowd containers. Give roots room to grow and consider repotting on a schedule so plants don't become pot-bound. Avoid relying entirely on annuals for structure. Mix in perennials and small trees or pleach forms to create continuity year to year. Be cautious with rampant climbers near gutters and neighbors. Choose trained, contained climbers on fixed supports. Don't prioritize immediate fullness over long-term health. It's better to plant slightly fewer specimens well-spaced than many stunted ones. The benefit is longevity. Sensible restraint at the outset ensures the courtyard will increase in beauty rather than decay under the weight of poor early choices. Seasonal choreography keeps the courtyard interesting throughout the year. In spring, focus on fresh soil, new plantings, and bulbs under perennials for early color. Stake tall bloomers and divide congested perennials. In summer, water deeply and less frequently to encourage root depth, pinch herbs to keep them productive, and move containers into partial shade during extreme heat. In autumn, clean up spent annuals, mulch beds for winter protection, and plant bulbs for the next spring's surprise. In winter, protect tender containers with insulating wraps or move them to a frost-free corner. Rely on evergreens and architectural grasses to carry the scene's skeleton when flowers sleep. The benefit is constant reward. Attending to seasonal needs keeps the courtyard a living sequence rather than a single-season display. As the courtyard becomes established, layer in small comforts and rituals that tether it to daily life. Add a simple potting bench for tiny tasks and to corral tools and twine. Keep a kettle or carafe near the seating area for spontaneous tea rituals. Position hooks for garden aprons and baskets so harvesting feels effortless. Place a soft outdoor rug or an arrangement of pebbles near the bench for tactile delight underfoot. When you step outside your home, you deserve more than just a yard. You deserve a sanctuary, a place where stress melts away, where every sound and sight welcomes calm, and where nature feels like it has been arranged to comfort and inspire you. This is the essence of a garden oasis, a personal retreat you don't have to travel to find, because it begins right outside your front door or your back patio. Today, I want to take you through a vision of what a true garden oasis can be, and more importantly, how 5 core ideas can guide you in transforming your own outdoor space into a destination of peace and beauty. Close your eyes and imagine the first step, a lush green canopy arching overhead. You approach your garden, and instead of walking directly into open space, you are welcomed by a curtain of leaves and blossoms. The sunlight above filters softly through vines draping from an arch, scattering golden flecks across the path. It feels as though nature has built you a ceiling, an intimate shelter that marks the transition from the busy outside world to your hidden retreat. This canopy is more than just decoration. It creates coolness in the heat of summer, softness in the glare of daylight, and a feeling of intimacy that makes even a simple yard feel like an enchanted corridor. The greenery rises, the air is fresher, and you know you've entered someplace different. This is the first layer of your oasis: protection, invitation, and beauty woven together by living plants. And then you hear it. Water, trickling steadily, weaving its melody into the air. Every true oasis has a soul, and water is that soul. Whether it's a small fountain set by the patio, a pond with lilies floating on its surface, or a narrow stream winding along a pathway, the sound of water transforms your state of mind. It calms, it soothes, it distracts you from noise and pulls you into peace. The light catches on the ripples during the day, shimmering like liquid glass. At night, the moon reflects across the surface, turning water into a mirror of the stars. Imagine sitting by a pond and watching koi glide beneath the surface, their movements slow and graceful. Imagine leaning back and listening to a bowl fountain, the sound steady and rhythmic, reminding you of distant rivers. Water does not only please the ear and eye, it refreshes the air, attracts birds and butterflies, and sustains tiny ecosystems. It is not only beauty, it is life. With water in your garden, the oasis begins to breathe. As you wander deeper, you arrive at a quiet corner. Here, the oasis invites you not only to look, but to rest. Perhaps it's a wooden bench beneath a flowering tree, or a cushioned chair tucked under a pergola, or a hammock swaying gently in the breeze. This corner is yours, a space set apart not for walking, but for staying. It's where you can open a book, sip a cup of tea, or simply close your eyes and breathe in the scent of flowers. The design matters, yes. The comfort of the seat, the shade that protects you, the lanterns or string lights that glow softly in the evening. But what matters most is the feeling. You are not rushing here. You are pausing. You are absorbing. You are giving yourself the gift of time in nature without leaving home. This is what makes a garden oasis different from an ordinary yard. It doesn't just surround you with plants, it creates destinations of comfort. It gives you reasons to linger, to stay longer, to return again and again. One of the most overlooked secrets of an oasis is structure. Gardens that feel timeless often have strong geometry guiding the flow. Picture a central pathway lined with symmetrical pots, evenly spaced hedges, or stone tiles that lead the eye to a focal point, a fountain, a sculpture, or a majestic tree. Symmetry doesn't mean rigidity. Instead, it creates harmony, helping the mind relax. When your pathways are thoughtfully designed, you instinctively slow down, explore, and feel grounded. Imagine guests arriving and being guided effortlessly by a walkway bordered with lavender or boxwood, their senses greeted with fragrance and order. The benefit of symmetry and pathways is clarity. Your garden becomes easy to navigate, elegant in style, and endlessly photogenic. The most mesmerizing oases are those that unfold in layers, surprising you at every step. Picture tall palms or ornamental trees forming the upper canopy, shrubs and flowering bushes filling the mid-level, and ground covers, moss, or stepping stones completing the base. Add lighting at each level, uplights that wash tree trunks, soft lanterns illuminating the mid-height shrubs, and glowing ground lights tracing the pathway. At dusk, your garden becomes a theater of shadows and highlights, alive with depth. These layers invite exploration, creating a sense of abundance and dimension. Imagine sitting outside at night, the garden glowing softly, layered textures alive in moonlight, and you feel like you've entered a dreamscape. The benefit is immersive design. Your garden oasis no longer looks flat, but feels alive, multidimensional, and endlessly enchanting. And then, as you leave the corner and walk again, you realize something important. This oasis feels ordered, calm, and easy to explore. That is because it is built on structure. Pathways guide you, symmetry reassures you, and your eyes are drawn forward with clarity. Perhaps a central walkway leads from the entrance to a fountain, lined with evenly spaced pots on either side. Perhaps low hedges frame the garden, or stone tiles mark each step with intention. Symmetry doesn't mean stiffness, it means harmony. When a garden is balanced, your mind relaxes. When a pathway is defined, your curiosity awakens. You slow down, you look around, and you allow yourself to feel grounded. Picture guests arriving at your home and instantly being guided by a walkway bordered by lavender, the scent rising as they pass. They feel welcome before they've even reached your door. Symmetry and pathways are not just practical, they are psychological. They tell your guests, and yourself, that this space has order, beauty, and rhythm. As the sun begins to set, the oasis transforms once again. What felt calm and inviting in daylight becomes magical at dusk. That is because the garden is layered, not only with plants, but with light. Tall palms or trees form the upper canopy, shrubs and flowers fill the middle ground, and ground covers, moss, and stepping stones complete the lower level. And when you add lighting at each layer, the space glows with depth and dimension. Uplights illuminate tree trunks, giving them drama and presence. Soft lanterns nestled among the shrubs create a gentle glow. Small ground lights trace the path like stars guiding your steps. As darkness falls, your garden does not disappear. It awakens into a theater of shadows and highlights. Imagine sitting outside at night with soft music playing, the garden glowing all around you, the layers of plants alive with texture and mystery. You feel as though you are inside a dreamscape, surrounded by an atmosphere that is at once calming and inspiring. Layers of life and light do more than decorate. They immerse you in an experience. They give your oasis depth, richness, and a sense of wonder. When all of these ideas are woven together, the lush canopy, the living water, the cozy corners, the guiding symmetry, and the layered lights, you step into something far greater than the sum of its parts. You step into a world that feels seamless, where every detail supports the next. Imagine entering your oasis. You walk beneath a shaded archway, follow a stone path lined with planters, pause by the sound of a bubbling fountain, sit for a while in a cozy nook, and then watch as the night falls and the garden glows softly around you. Each transition feels natural. each step feels intentional. This is not just landscaping, it is storytelling through design. It is your personal narrative written in soil, stone, water, and light. And what does such a space give you? It gives you a daily retreat. It gives you the joy of nature without the need to travel far. It gives you mornings of peace, afternoons of laughter, and evenings of wonder. It gives your guests a memory, your family a gathering place, and yourself a sanctuary.